This is Willo Wellspring, and welcome to the event. My workshop is about dark goddesses and herbs. There's a lot of dark faces and feminine in the sacred feminine. Goddesses like Kali, Lilith, Hecate, Medusa, Morgan, the Black Madonna, and even Inanna, Freya, and Hel. So we're going to take a little walk into this transformational and healing powers and the wild face of the dark goddess as it holds to us. Let's talk about her and how we access her. How to get into that place where the divinity of this dark and powerful force embodies and is expressed into our being. First, I'd like to talk about the goddess Kali and one of her favorite plants, the hibiscus. So as a green gardener, as you can tell in my surroundings, I like to do a chant that goes like this. Salutations to you in the form of consciousness, and I cut. Salutations to you in the form of intelligence, and I cut. Salutations to you in the form of power, and I cut. Salutations to you in the form of forgiveness, and I cut. Salutations to you in the form of beauty, and I cut. Salutations to you in the form of fortune, and I cut. Salutations to you in the form of contentment, and I cut. And salutations to you in the form of the Dark Mother, and I cut. Kali has taught me about death and about the doorway to life. I don't believe anything truly dies. And the dark goddesses shows us that about the power of descent into ourselves and our surroundings. About the wisdom of the sword. And when we wield it with compassion, it is actually the touch of the mother. A gardener might say it's just a matter of simple pruning. But I say that hibiscus and Kali are symbols of happiness, prosperities, but they are a completion and purpose of life. So the next time, if you have hibiscus in your garden or have an affinity for Kali, take a moment to think about when you are pruning it, the chant that I have said, and how that actually cleanses and creates that energy through you. Along with that, there are a lot of different medicinal herbs to go with the hibiscus flower. Now, a lot of people know about hibiscus tea, and that's probably the weakest form that you can actually partake of the hibiscus flower medicinally. But the chemicals in the hibiscus flower help with the growth of hair. They reduce dandruff. The actual oil in the flower is a good conditioner. It can be used as a contraceptive. It can be used as, believe it or not, polishing your shoes to make them glisten. The juice and the leaves actually help regularize the menstrual cycle in female. And we know our dark goddesses like to deal with blood. It also can be used in the morning on an empty stomach to help cure some of the irregularities and diseases that our bodies may hold. The oil can be applied to wounds, and it also is a good proactive tea in the stages of initial cancer to use. It's good for increasing the blood count for anemic people. It's good for weight loss, hypertension, relaxation. So if you have an affinity for Kali as your dark goddess, you might think about hibiscus and how to use it in your rituals and your chants to her. Next, let's talk about Hela. Now, Hel is, of course, a Nora's goddess. And you notice that I'm doing dark goddesses on many different pantheons here. This is supposed to be a workshop on the dark goddess and the connection to her with you. So I know that not everybody follows that same path. Hela, of course, is that dark goddess of the dead and the queen of the netherworld. She is the daughter of Loki. And, of course, belladonna is one of her primary herbs. Other ones include wormwood or artemisia, rue, lilies, and dried roses. But offerings of food, especially dark breads, meats, deer, wine, are also great offerings for her because she has a number of botanical associations in her realm. And apples, of course, is the fruit, as they say, to the underworld. So, Hela is, again, associated to nightshades. All forms of them. And since belladonna is linked to the Norns and the Valkyrie, belladonna has been used to journey to the underworld in the long past Middle Ages and before. Now, I don't recommend this unless you have an extreme person that has supervision over you and has the proper training. Don't try to use this at home by yourself because the lady can kill. And it's good to remember that because she is used in spells to speak to the dead and usually are bound around something. But she does have a positive side too. Belladonna, believe it or not, has been used in a lot of the pharmaceutical companies for antispasmodic. It is a narcotic. The narcotic actually affects the central nervous system. Again, It is not to be used without proper medical or trained personnel in its practice. Now those dark flowers of belladonna and the berries not only are good for offering and in spell work when connecting to the dead, but it's also considered a baneful herb. Now a lot of people don't know what to do with baneful herbs, and that's a whole nother workshop. But for those of you that are associated with some of the baneful herb uses, there is a darker side of magic and the craft that is connected with the norms. Trees of the dead, such as the yew and the elder, are also associated with it. In fact, Hella's first tree is both her name and the goddess Hulda, which is the elder tree. She is the guardian of the Hell Road, and they are long associated with the dead and the ancestor. Now, wormwood, which is artemisia, absinthe, and also mugwort, is another one that is sacred to Hela and her gate guardian. It is an extremely bitter herb, and it does drive out parasites, hence the nickname wormwood. It cleans out the digestive tract, but it is mildly hallucinogenic when instilled into liquor, as you all know, the liquor absinthe. It used to be used more frequently as a liver tonic. But if you do use this as a liver tonic, it is only for short-term use. No more than 2 weeks, and then a 3 to 6 month period of rest. The reason for this, of course, is that it helps clear out the digestive and the liver tract, but again, this does attack the central nervous system, and so in long-term uses, it can lead to madness and death. Now, the liver tonic is also to help with those who are cold and deadened of life. But it is, the medicinal side is actually derived from its properties of expelling the intestinal worms, and which has been used for that in long term. The next is, of course, another dangerous plant, and that is Hela's hellebore, or helleboris. It is also called hellberry, or a Christmas rose if you want to get into the post-Christmas times. And this plant is associated with the powers of invisibility. She is a plant of madness, and it is said that she takes madness from someone, but her prices are heavy and they are terrifying. Other things, such as the rue that I had mentioned, and the mugwort, which I had also mentioned as Hela's. Mugwort is another artemisia. It is Artemisia vulgaris, and it can actually be used, the dried leaves, to be stuffed in pillows to bring sweet dreams and take away night terrors or the madness, and a little bit more receptive in that. Just remember to do that with the leaves and under your pillow or in a dream satchel. It also can be seeped into the bath water to help prevent fatigue on a long journey. The name actually is derived from the fact that it was a wart. Not like the stuff that you get on your body. Wart. W-O-R-T. And that is a medieval and very early form of ale flavoring. In fact, some of the oldest kind of brews is a simple mugwort and lemon with yeast that was brewed and was similar to the taste of a grog. Hence, as it was used in the ale flavoring, it flavored your mugs. And so it continued as a ale flavoring, clear right up into the Middle Ages. And healers would use it in alcohol, as also a popular medicine at that time. So, now let's talk about the rue that is also associated with health. And rue is a very common witch's herb as well. Rue can be used also in dream practices and in divination. It's one of those common things that you will notice a lot of your dark goddess herbs are also poisonous and very common in poison and witches' gardens as well. With that being said, just remember that the dark goddess destroys to create. And a lot of these herbs are also sacred into the plant phases. They can be poisonous and they can kill with just a tablespoon. But they can also be used as cures too, to the medical or a trained professional. Belladonna also is a narcotic for high fevers or inflammation, pain. It helps, again, with kidney pain. And just two of the root tincture can have extreme effects in some of those things. But again, it can also cause paralysis and death because it attacks the very things that you are treating in the nervous system. So, again, don't use without medical supervision. The next is Lilith. Boy, aren't I skipping around on many different types of pantheons. Now, Lilith's major herbs are hibiscus, poppy, mugwort, hemlock, hellebore, nightshades like belladonna, elder, lotus, lavender, sage, and tansy. So when I'm talking about tansy and its association with Lilith, as we've already talked about hibiscus and mugwort, and even the nightshades, tansy is a mild irritant, and it can be applied externally. It has been used to promote and induce abortions. But it also has been used for a wash for skin problems and blemishes. Far back in the Middle Ages, and even still is used occasionally for sprains and rheumatism. However, again, an overdose of this can be fatal. As I was saying, tansy is also a workhorse. It is a perennial, and it used to be very, very common in adding or embellishing into stews. In fact, in the 16th century Britain, it was considered a necessity for gardens as it was so versatile. Now, Greeks actually were the very first one that we know to use it as healing. And by the 8th century, we have records that the monks of Switzerland was using tansy, as well as that it was a staple in many herbs gardens for digestive issues, particularly worms, fevers, and skin conditions. They also used Israelites during their Lenten meals, which served a double purpose. For after 10 days of eating fish, gas was rapid among the clergy. So tansy was actually thought to control the expulsion. Now, again, during the Middle Ages, it was also used as a technique to cause abortions, particularly to a cunning or wise woman who acted as caregivers in rural areas. High doses of tansy was also known to bring on the woman's menses and increase the blood flow, hence causing those abortions to happen, whether nature intended them to or not. Consequently, though, it also helped women who were having fertility issues and issues with conception. So in many cultures, tansy was associated with spells to promote long life, or create life, or even immortality. Can you see how that's attached to a dark goddess? In fact, when Zeus fell in love with Ganymede, the object of his affection was given tansy to make him immortal. And tansy was used exclusively and extensively along with the culture's funeral rites as an aid for embalming the dead, as well as covering up the smell. Some believe the scent of tansy helped guide the dead on their long journey, and by the 19th century in New England, tansy became heard by its population associated in the funerals, where it was used so extensively that even today, tansy is still used in funeral flowers. You may see there are so many things that I could tell you about these plants and so many dark goddesses, but since I am running out of time, the one that I really want to talk to you about, and that we here at White Raven have affinity, is Hecate. Hecate is one of the goddesses that Hecate, she also is associated with belladonna, but one of her primary is, again, monkshood or belladonna. These are all, again, a very common poison that is associated with Hecate, keeper of the things. Monkhood is a perennial wildflower. It's found in mountainous all over Europe and parts of Asia. But it is often confused with its yellow cousin, wolfsbane, which is another aconite. And most people seemingly believe they are the same plant. They're not. They're equally as lethal, but wolfsbane contains a different kind of poison and blooms earlier in the season compared to monkshood, which blooms late summer or autumn. Now, we know that poisonous plants that are associated with dark goddess all have the potential to kill. And if you really want to get into how the aconites and belladonna and the dark destroys to create, monkhood kills, and it's not subtle. It's a very, very bitter taste. It burns the mouth before numbing it, leaving speech difficult. Then it's an agonizing death. Very painful. Both anxiety, raises the heart, lowers the blood pressure, increases paralysis until you can't move and you're completely conscious until the end. And then usually you die from the heart failure. Now, it depends on how much poison it takes and how long it stays in the stomach for it to do this. A small amount might cause no more than a numb face and a mouth and a very upset stomach, but less than a half a teaspoon can kill you. A full teaspoon, death with a certainty. But even coming into contact with some of these plants can lead to dermatitis, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, and skin irritations. So it goes without saying, all of these plants that I have talked to you about, besides things like rue and tansy, please handle with gloves. If you're using them in your gardens or you're growing them for your dark goddess as an offering, please don't handle them. And I myself love to film my plants. I love to touch them, I love to plant them, I love to fill in between their roots. But some of these plants, even by contact, can get absorbed in your skin. So, clear back from Homer, Hecate created monkshood from the saliva of Cyprus, the three-headed hound, which guards the entrance to Hades. Some sources say this legend is now abandoned. An abandoned village in Turkey that actually was the origin from Homer's story. And there is supposed to be a cave there. That was the entrance to Hades. Another legend talks about a common denominator in monkshood myths as that it is used as a poison. Medema, a sorcerer tried to use it on Demeus, and aconite is the poison that Athena also used to change Arcane to a spider when she dared to outspin the goddess. You notice a lot of these are in the certain family of aconites. But arrowheads were smeared with the poison to make them doubly fatal. In some cases, the shafts were coated as well, so anyone pulling the arrow from the body would also be coated and poisoned as well. The Romans used it to poison their enemies' food and water supply. In fact, even Claudius, the emperor, fell to the poisoning of it. Now, it still makes its appearances, but there's always time. I get so excited about talking about dark goddesses and herbs. Both things I love with a passion. I strongly encourage each and every one of you to explore the herbs that are associated with your dark goddess in your life. Use them in your rituals. Use them as a beneficial cure as well. Just be aware that in every light there is dark, and life is always infinite. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you enjoyed my workshop.